going on, everybody? Welcome to schrishzen Thoughts, where I talk about stuff and things. And today we are talking about BLM. So, start off, shout out to my subscribers, shout out to anybody new coming across this channel. Comments and feedback are always welcome. And if you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you get notifications about when I upload, especially considering I'm not exactly consistent. So, BLM still topic of conversation. Why? Because they are all over. However, conversations are still going the same way they've been going from the beginning, where people mix up the slogan BLM, Black Lives Matter, with the organization Black Lives Matter. And they confuse the two, and you can hear it in the arguments. I actually had a conversation the other day with two people that I used to work with, one younger than me, one older than me, and both of them were coming at me with the same thing. Neither of them answered the question that I'm going to pose at the end of this. But they confuse Black Lives Matter, the term, with the organization. The organization stands for a particular group of people, police who are victims of police brutality, which does not directly mean killing, but police brutality victims and people and black people who are discriminated against in the LGBTQ community mainly. To me, that seems to be their bigger focus than it is on police brutality stuff, but their police brutality stuff is what makes national news. That's the thing that ends up on everybody's news network. So when people are like, you hear these things, but you don't hear about them on mainstream media and blah, 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 you hear about it in your locals, but you're not going to hear about it and see it blasted everywhere like you will when it's a white cop versus black person or white cop versus Spanish person. You're not going to hear the same, you're not going to see the same social media sharing for certain things that aren't police brutality related, that BLM stands for, as you will for a police brutality issue that's directed at a black person. Justified or unjustified, they'll hop out. My gripe with BLM partially is for their name, because it creates the confusion that it does. And if you were to hop on board with conspiracy type theories, I could see where if there's some evil mastermind person behind funding of BLM, let them rock with that name, because you knew that it was going to create more of an issue than it was going to do a benefit. But it's a different point. Either way, the organization fights for particular things. People get mad at them because they say, you shout BLM, but you don't say anything about crime. You say black on black crime, or gang violence, or kids getting shot. And while these are all things that I can almost guarantee everybody who reps or supports or stands for BLM cares about, that's not what you chant Black Lives Matter in regards to. It's not within the scope of what the organization addresses. So what I think is happening is people are getting mad at the people, which I can understand to an extent, of not saying anything about a 1-year-old getting shot, or a 3-year-old getting shot, or a 4-year-old getting shot, or the kids that get shot in the car sitting in the back seat when their parents are the ones being attacked. They're not seeing some big social media push for people like that. Completely understand. But when people turn and say BLM doesn't care about this, that just means you don't know what BLM's about. If BLM is for police brutality and discrimination against black people who are LGBTQ, then you're not going to see them protesting or creating hashtags around kids who get shot, officers even who get shot, regular adults who get shot. You're not going to see that. Why? Because that's not what they do. You're getting mad at them for something that they do not do. If you think that makes sense, cool, do what you do. But to me, that doesn't make any sense. I was on this side too. I did, like, there was a part of me at one point that I bought into that mindset where I was like, wow, they don't say nothing about this. Wow, they're not out here saying anything about this, but they say Black Lives Matter. But then I had to bring it back, or I listened to some things and it brought it back to the organization is for this particular thing. The term, the slogan, is one thing, but it's not really a slogan because it's an organization's name. Should they have named it something else? I think so. But they didn't. They said Black Lives Matter. So when people are running around screaming, Black Lives Matter, this is what they're talking about. They're even, I think people even, as in regular people, aren't saying Black Lives Matter, but I don't care about these ones. It's, we're going to say this when we're directing it at this thing that we see an injustice in. The question that I said I would circle back to toward the end of this is, it's often brought up, why aren't you chanting? Why aren't you marching in the streets over this little girl that died, or over this little boy that got shot, or over the kid in the stroller that got shot? Why are you guys not out in the streets about that? Why aren't you putting aside the police brutality thing and going at this? So my question is, what is a protest for crime going to do to stop crime? If I'm in New York, which I am, and there's crime in Chicago, and there's crime in Baltimore, there's crime in New York City where I don't live, what is a protest where I'm at going to do for them? What is a protest in New York going to do to help Chicago? I'm at a loss for this. There's one person that I've heard address this, and it's Brandon Tatum. And to me, he addressed it in an honest way by saying, I don't know. He's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, he said something that was like, to create this thing and blah, like he said something that was kind of like, all right, I can do something, like a little something, but he didn't come out and present some like super tangible action that can be taken. And when I was having this conversation, I posed the question a few times and it got danced around and never answered, never directly responded to, never addressed. What is a protest going to do for crime? Even to tell those people there, yo, step up, speak out about it. To me, I was like, that sounds good in theory, but when you live there and you live that life, or you live around that life, you either really don't know who's doing what, or you fear for your safety on saying anything about what's being done, which to me is completely understandable. I don't have to live there. I'm not them. I can easily sit back here and be like, snitches get stitches. I think it's a dumb ass mentality. However, I don't live there. So if something goes down in front of my house and nobody was actually outside to see it, but I could see it on my cameras, and then I say something, my thought is, these people might circle back here and be like, who said something? Nobody's speaking up. Well, let's check it out. It happened right here. There's this house, this house, this house, this house, this house. One of y'all did it. We messing with all y'all. So I can understand when people are like, you know what, I'm going to reserve saying something because I don't know what the repercussions are going to be. I might say something and nothing comes of it, and then negative things happen to me that I'm not really looking for. Either way, BLM is directed at a particular thing: police brutality, discrimination. Anything past that, it's not them. You can get mad all you want about the fact that they don't stand up and protest or march or hashtag for kids who get shot. It sucks that these kids get shot. None of us find it cool. But you're still not going to get BLM to say anything about it. Why? It's not their lane. That's for other people to do. That's for the organizations that are in place to address crime in those areas to do. You could say, hey, we can call for funding to go to these organizations to try and help them build a rapport with the community, build a better connection with the police departments to help them police the area better, maybe, cool. But to say, why isn't BLM saying anything on this? They don't care about Black lives. You don't understand. You don't understand the organization that you're talking about. So it makes me a little questionable about whether or not the suggestions or the questions coming from you are even really valid. That's my thoughts, though. Again, comments and feedback are always welcome, and especially on something like this, I love to hear it, because if I'm wrong, I would love to be corrected. But from my understanding, Black Lives Matter is an organization that's got specific goals in mind. Those goals that they have are not directed at crime, not general crime, not your regular citizen on citizen crime. They're directed at police officers who are akin to referees in life, people who are there to try and keep order. It's directed at them, not regulars. And if you continue to confuse it, all you're going to do is continue to me, make a fool of yourself and miss the point more. It's going to hold us back from moving forward. Why? Because we're going to be stuck on an argument that doesn't really need to be had. Hope you have a good one. Peace.